where you can span from the Young Israel to the Agudah and be involved in both and still be considered somehow from both sides. I really don't know how that works, but it's only on the east side. It doesn't exist anywhere else. And that respect that exists from one group to another group. But the truth is, the Young Israel had a tremendous influence on many, many lives. I mean, everybody belonged to the Young Israel. I belonged to the Young Israel. I remember being in one of Nat Carper's groups or something. Go back there. My wife belonged to the Young Israel. I don't think anyone that, any of the kids didn't belong to the Young Israel. Okay. Before he came, the jokes that used to be about the Young Israel, Paradume, all that kind of stuff. If you don't know it, you can forget about it. It's not Negeya. But if you know it, then that was really what it was compared to at that time. But the Rav turned it around to make, and at that time I think maybe it was the first or one of the first, that made it a general thing that the most respected synagogues in the country are Young Israels. Once upon a time, it wasn't that way. And the reason was because he educated the people. He didn't darsh, he didn't just give psak halachas in the sense, this is the way you got to do it, this is the way you got to do it. He actually taught it to them. He let them decide and let them define that this is the right way to happen, and this is what they have to do. So I just want to talk about the Iyun of Tshuva, maybe in a little bit with the same idea that the Rabbi Shem does to Klal Yisrael. It's the Rambam in Perek Gimel of Hilchos Tshuva, Halacha Dalet, he speaks about how a person has to view himself before the Asel Simei Tshuva. And he says you have to consider yourself a Beinani. Machza. Right now is not the point, really. Or maybe I have to, how do you consider yourself machza? Let's be realistic. We're from a Yidden. We daven every day. We say a bunch of brachas. We're honest. We maybe learn Torah during the day. I mean, we're way ahead of the game. How many avelos do we do during the day? I mean, a little stick of Lashon Hara once in a while, maybe. Nothing too major, what we would consider, right? We don't. So how you machza? Says that very simply. Because how much kavanah did you have in all those mitzvahs? How many did you do because that's what you do? Nothing wrong with it, Rabbi. I'm not knocking anything. I'm just saying, how do you do mitzvahs? Do we really, I mean, we say those words maybe sometimes before a mitzvah, but how many really mean it and hold it and understand what they're saying? So really all our mitzvahs are pretty half mitzvahs-like. Our averes, I really don't think anyone sat down and said, I'm really preparing myself to go do an avera now. If it did, it came across, some say a good story was told, I had a better story, and a little Lashon Hara was mentioned in the middle. But it was never someone that sat down to talk Lashon Hara, to be Lashon. So really, our mitzvahs are pretty schwache mitzvahs. Averes are pretty schwache averes. So meilu machza. And we got to now make it. So he tells us do tshuva. So there's a kasha on this Rambam. He said, why does he have to do tshuva? Let him do one more mitzvah. And he'll tip it in that way while you're doing one more mitzvah. But the way I'm telling you, you probably couldn't do that one more mitzvah because you still got to have that extra kavanah and not going to get it. But anyway, the kasha is not a kasha, even though it is by many Bali Musa, because they want to tell you the keches of tshuva. But it's not a valid question because the idea is I'm talking about what I did last year, and I have to get what I did last year to affect this year. And the mitzvah I'm going to do to balance me is this year, so it doesn't go to fix up last year. The only way I can fix up last year is by doing tshuva, by taking off an avera somehow from that side, and that way I'll be able to pass it and be able to go on. Okay, that's I don't think it's a kasha. But the truth is, all of this thing seems to be really extraneous. Because after we spend 2 days on Rosh Hashanah, this year came out to be 3 days, and maybe Shabbos was recovering from Rosh Hashanah, I don't know, but the 2 days of Rosh Hashanah, we're talking about Malchus. Now, in Malchus, we explain what the Rabbeinu Shalom is, who he is. He's a melech. He's the melech ha'olam. There are responsibilities the melech was. So first of all, who is the melech? That's the first thing we have to understand. You know, the Torah goes into a lot of mitzvahs or in Yonim about Avodah Zorah, especially in Dvorim. You have so many psukim about Yisrael Avodah Zorah. Is it pshat that the Rabbeinu Shalom Chas v'Chalila means a jealousy of the Rabbeinu, that we would do Avodah Zorah, we don't believe in him? That's what really bothers us. It bothers him. I mean, I'm sure it bothers him because we don't reach perfection, but does it bother him as personally? Vadinit. What he's trying to teach us is a God that is not omnipotent is not a God. Omnipotent, however you pronounce it. But the idea is that's not a God. If you go to an idol who's limited by certain size, place, wherever it is, he can't control everything. If he can't control everything, a person starts to think, maybe I have to take care of myself. There are places in life that God can't help me. I got to start doing for myself. And that means you start doing Averis. How can I keep Shabbos? And how am I going to make Panose? How am I going to eat of whatever it is that I have to do? I have to do so many Averis to be able to live. But if I believe that God can give me everything and anything, and there's nothing beyond him, health, wealth, doesn't make a difference. Whatever it is not beyond him, then of course I can do the mitzvahs. I can rely on him to take care of me on the other times. And that's the point of a God. That's the person of God. Okay, so first we have a God. So that's the keach of God. Now God is telling you, I'm a king. What is the responsibilities of a king? Responsibilities of a king is to feed his people, is to take care of his people. That's all it is. There's no other responsibility that he has. We see this, I think, from Yosef, that in Geren HaOtod, that the terrorists, what the Malchi Canaan came for war, and then all of a sudden they changed and they put their crowns around with Yosef's on the Oren of Yankov Avinu. They saw a big army. They saw a lot of people here. A funeral doesn't require so many people, so therefore they felt threatened. So came along. And they saw, there's a crown on top of the coffin. Why would the crown be on a coffin? So they asked, and they told him because Yosef fed the world. He saved the world from famine. He came up with ideas and whatever it is. And who did he get that from? He got that from his father, because the purpose of the melech is to make sure that the people live and eat and survive. That's the purpose of the melech. All the kings agreed that that's the purpose of the melech. And if that's the case, then we have to show our subjugation to this type of idea, that that's the whole purpose of malchus. Now to firois, in other words, how is he going to implement his malchus, his good things, because he has to have certain powers. If those powers are not existent, then people will start saying, well, it doesn't pay for me. I don't see the way it is. Now, why should I give taxes? Who let that guy go work? Whatever it is that's going to be, it's not going to work unless there's a certain amount of power that goes into it. And power, besides power, there has to be this concept of pomp and circumstance, an Iyun of covet, if you want to call it that. That pshat is that people are impressed, and because they're impressed, they mivatel themselves towards it. In other words, and that's a place they don't argue anymore with the melech. And that's the point of the authority of the king, comes a lot from that. So these points of einish, or these things, are only to give keach for the king to be able to implement his keach to be able to feed the people. I remember when Nixon went to China, I don't remember who was the prime minister of China at that time, the chairman, whatever he called him. It's after Mao Tse-tung already. And he commented to them about human rights, the whole kind America always had on China. And he said, the only human rights I'm interested in is how to feed 1,200,000,000 people. I really couldn't care about any other human rights. And that is the purpose of a melech. So I'm saying any melech is that way. Even melech, whatever a melech we hold of or not hold of him is not giving, but look at his picture when he was elected the first time. And look at his picture when he's going to go out of office in a couple of years. And you'll see the lines and the tower or whatever. It doesn't come just from having covered. It comes from, there's a lot of aggravation. And not aggravation, it's self-imposed aggravation, because I can't do something. There's a responsibility I have. I have a responsibility to my people. That's what the whole thing that we've been learning talks about, the glory and the keftim, but it also talks about what the Rabbi Shalom does for the world and how he supports the world and all the keches that we have. And that is the melech. And now because of that, we have to understand what is it in our relationship to this melech. You know, he's a melech, so we're subjects. How do we relate to him? So I do an aveira. So when you do an aveira, it causes others to do an aveira, because they see it can't be that bad. Or, you know, I always have the same Yetzer Hara. He did it already, so, you know, it gets a little easier. You break the law. You're passing that red light. Everybody passes it, right? Whatever it is there, you're going to have it. So everyone starts to do it. It breaks the power. So if we have a big Avera, we have to start thinking ourselves, we are destroying the power of the king. Sometimes we even hurt the world. I don't know which Averos do that, but I'll give you a mashal how it is. We might not even understand how we're doing it. Like sometimes there's a mitzvah, and we say, what kind of mitzvah is that? So we don't really understand it. But I think to understand something in this idea is, let's say, you know, in this case, let's take a retreat. A battalion's retreating, and they have to set up, you know, the circumference. So they have to put up certain sentries, guards, whatever it is there. So they say, who's on duty? The sergeant or the lieutenant or the captain, who's ever in that particular point. It's you, and you, right? Everybody's tired. Everybody's sabrochen. We had 3 days of constant battle. Mamish, there's no way I can keep my eyes open. Nobody is. Everybody's thanking God it was the other guy that got appointed. But if that sentry falls asleep, they shoot him. No rachmanis. He may not even understand, like, why, what did I do wrong? I mean, we're resting. Everybody else is sleeping. Why can't I have a little dremel? And Lamaisla like that. He doesn't see the big picture. It doesn't make a difference. He put the whole company into danger, and he is chayiv misa, and they shoot him right away. They don't even bother bringing him home. So we don't even know what averos are being done as far as in the Olam Emes, whatever it is there. Where's ha'hakoros ha'toiv? The tremendous, what God has done for us. How do we go against his will if he's done so much for us? So that's our midas are bad. I mean, we should want to do good because the Rabbi Shalom is so good to us. And then, of course, there's the maxim one, which the Rabbi Shalom has the gresta tainus sign tashas, the government's pashas, and pasha, that was the Iyun of Zdoim, that we got a better system than God has. We're better than God. We're more honest than God. We're less bigoted than God is, and so on. So basically, if a person does an aveira, even though he's a tzaddik gomer, let's say he had one aveira, millions of mitzvahs, doesn't make a difference. And he meant every one of those mitzvahs. But he got to do tshuva for that aveira. Because that aveira, he broke the authority of the king. He has to feel sorry about it. He has to have remorse for what he's done. Because he's done a tremendous chet. And the thing there. You can't say, well, I'm a tzaddik anyway. You're a tzaddik. You'll pass this year. We'll let you get away with it this year. But where's your tshuva for what you did wrong? Why aren't you doing that? You'll tell me, what's that have to do, to show this remorse? I mean, you've definitely seen this in cases where you have, capital punishments, and the judge says, the defendant showed no remorse, right? So therefore, he's going to give him whatever he can give him, right? But if he would have shown remorse, he'd have rachmanis on him, right? There's an Iyun of showing remorse. That has nothing to do whether the judge will do anything for you. That just happens to be the judge is saying, I would have done something, he would have shown remorse. There's a mice in the Gemara between Rabbi Meir and Acher. Rabbi Meir is following Acher on Shabbos, and Acher is riding on a donkey, and Acher says to him, Ad kan tchum Shabbos, you can't go any further than here. So he says, Rabbi, do tshuva. So he says, every day a baskol goes out that everyone can do tshuva except Acher. And there's a lot of talk about this in the last generation's Svarim, about whether it's a person can invent a baskol that doesn't exist and things of that sort. I said, no, the baskol's true. What difference does it make if God forgives you or not? You should be sorry for the chet that you did. You should show remorse. It wasn't tying to you because God is going to forgive you. That's why you do tshuva. I do tshuva because I'm sorry for what I did. Now, if you're sorry for what you did, the Rabbeinu Shalom will forgive you. But one is not dependent on the other. And since Acher couldn't do it unless he was guaranteed that he's going to be forgiven, he couldn't do tshuva, so he had no remorse. He really wasn't so. He was only doing the tshuva to get a ride back to be accepted into Klal Yisrael. He wasn't doing it because he was sorry. That's not tshuva. And therefore it didn't work. Now, once we do recognize this point, like I say, we have to take it into our own lives. And it happens to come up at the right seder. Pashas Vayelech is around here. In the seder, it says that Moshe Ben was talking to Moshe when he called in together with Joshua. And he's saying that after Moshe Rabbeinu is going to die, Klal Yisrael is going to do Avodah Zarah. And the Rebbeinu is going to get very angry at them, and he's going to bring Rabbi, Rois is the last word. Makis, Rois, Rabbis, whatever, it's 3 words over there. Anyway. So he says, why did all these problems happen to us? And the people will say, because God is not in me. Bikil bi. It doesn't say Bikil Beinu. It says Bikil bi, which we chose to our things. In other words, God is not in my life. So bring him there. So what am I going to do? God says, I'm going to hide from them. And hasta asta ponai, the kasha becomes, the Gemara in Megillah says, Esther min ha-Torah min ayin. I guess because you've got a new mitzvah out of Esther. Right? They have to have a mokil somehow for it in the Torah. Esther min ha-Torah min ayin, hasta asta ponai. So you see that hasta asta is a good thing. That you see God even behest upon him, and by seeing him there even behest upon him, we can truly make a Kabbalah Satorah. Because when we made the Kabbalah Satorah the first time, where the Kof Aleim HaKegigis means literally that the Rebbeinu held a mountain over their head and he'd kill them if they don't accept the Torah, or it meant it in a spiritual sense. They went out of Mitzrayim, they saw all the Makis. They saw Kriyas Yamsuf. They saw Matan Torah with all the Nisim that were involved. They saw and they were eating the Mabel. They were in the Midbar already. They were eating already the Mon and the Lechem. How can you deny that there's a God? So if the Rabbeinu Shalom gives you a Torah, we're all going to say, if somebody denies God, say after seeing all these things and passed on from their parents to these things, how can he deny such a thing? So he's chayiv with the Yonshim that he's going to get. Right? But what happens if we don't see God anymore? We're in Golus. On that condition, we didn't accept the Torah in the first place. That was the point of it. Now we have a different Kabbalah. If we saw in normal living, no nesim, right? But we saw the nes because of all the circumstances that worked out and how the Klal Yisrael became saved, and not only saved, became on top, and Haman, who was all the way on top, was brought down. I mean, it was a tremendous. When we think about it, we don't know the political situation that exists. When Mitzrayim fell down, we don't know what happened to the economy of the world. We don't know what happened to anything. There's many, many things happened when these things happened. It wasn't just a simple act that something happened. And this is what happened. So then, of course, we recognize there's HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we can accept HaKadosh Baruch Hu in our lives. And I say, and that's what the Torah is saying to you. I'm going to hide. There is not going to come any more nisim in the sense of obvious nisim. You're going to look for me. When you find me, you're going to have those nisim. It's just a job. Look for them. You'll find them because I'm in your life every day. And that's the point. And I tell some guys, how do you find God in your life every day? I live a normal life. I get on, I wake up in the morning, I go to work, come back from work. Either I had something go wrong at work, it didn't go wrong at work, something went good at work, whatever it is, I come home, maybe I learn a little, I go to sleep, and get up in the morning and go back to the same thing. Where do I see God? How many times a person misses a bus when he came on time? Or gets a bus when he came late, or any little out-of-the-way thing. Oh, was I lucky? Oh, nuts, right? Whatever it is there, follow the day through as a result of what happened because of these things. Then you'll see God in your life. And you'll watch Him in all the different things that He has, whatever happens to you. Little out of the ordinary, just watch it, see where it goes. Sometimes it doesn't go too much anywhere. But you'll find many times it does. Once you find God in your life, then the truth is, it's very easy to daven to Him. One of the hardest things I think to teach kids, and the truth is, watch little kids, kids around bar mitzvah time. They're all looking around to see if the other kids have finished davening yet or not. And if they are, then they maybe walk back, or they shuckle a little more to make sure that I'm the last davener, right? And then they go back. But they don't daven. Why not? Why don't they daven? Because it's boring. You got to stand there for 5 minutes and say words that maybe you do or don't know what they mean. But it's very hard. But if you tell the kid, explain to him who God is and what God does for a person. Whether it's the bike he wants, it's got to come from God. Whether it's if God's going to give his father money to buy it from him, or whatever it is, or give somebody, a neighbor who has Nachmanis once likes him and is going to give him a bike for a present. It doesn't make a difference. But he has to appeal to the Rabbeinu Shalom. Then he would think about it. And maybe he thinks, I need das today. I need das today because I got a geometry test, and I don't know if I'm going to pass. And I need to remember everything that I learned. So I got to say, Atochen Ladam Das, with a lot of kavanah today, right? Okay. Whatever it is, there's a lot of things that he needs. And we ourselves, everybody got problems. There's no question about it. Let's say there would be someone in the world that can solve that problem. Usually, if we do monetary, it's a lot easier to explain. Let's say we need a new building. We need a new something. We need a new building. And we have a Gevir that is willing to grant us a 5-minute appointment. And if we can convince him in those 5 minutes, we got it. The money, everything you need, you got. How much time would you spend trying to figure out what to say to him in those 5 minutes? Right? We get 3 5-minute appointments with God every day. He's definitely can answer all our needs. So how do you not daven with kavanah? There's definitely something you need in Shemoneh Esrei. Through that, we can even know that with the God that gave us a Torah, there was a big purpose in it. What's the puzzle? Shemaim by the bear, small to my feet. He's all come my likrit. Kisirim alei deshe, kirvivim alei Yosef. Right? So Rashi teaches up Sirim alei deshe. It's not like Targum, but it doesn't make a difference. Strong winds which strengthen the grains. That's what the Torah is. My word should be like that. Or it should be krevivim alei deshe, like the rains that come down in single things, that they hit every leaf that needs it. What it's telling you, that's how the Torah acts. We don't have to live through all the nisyonos of life. We have to grow. And the truth is, how are you ever going to know who you are? Am I really Baal B'tochen? Or is it because I have enough money in the bank? Or is it because I have nothing at all? And therefore I say, Gott wird helfen. What about the guy who got just what he needs? Is he also willing to say, Gott wird helfen, and give some of it to someone else? Or in that part he says, no, now I have just what I need. I can't afford to give it away. So we don't really know if we're Bali B'tochen, because we're not really faced with a thing. So we can sometimes, if you have to work on that midah or that nisoyin, or God wants us to become what we are, He got to give us a test. We don't want to be tested. It's hard to be tested. Use the Torah as the test. When you learn the sugya, learn the idea, imagine it in your life. Imagine it. How would you react? Be honest with yourself. It's easier to be honest with yourself when it's not negei l'maisa. And the thing there, and you will grow from that. Not everybody in the Torah, not everyone needs the same things from the Torah, and that's why it's kisirim alei Yosef, alei deshe. Every person needs something else, and he finds that also in the Torah. And that's what the Moshe Rabbeinu was saying about the Torah. But it could also be motor and tal. And Rashi brings down tal akol smechem boy. Everybody enjoys do. Truth is, no. At least I don't. I don't have it too often. It's only when you get in the country we have a little grass. But if you don't have a path and you got to walk through grass, that's maybe a week's there. Your cuffs that had a nice, what do you call it, is going to go away. Your shoes that had a shine are going to go away. So you can't tell me akol smechem boy. But not a big deal. Motor, on the other hand, the world needs it, no question about it. But I got soaked. I can't wear the suit now. Where I was going, I look like a schlump because it's all creased and all out of shape. Of course, you can buy now suits that don't crease in the rain. But if you haven't got one, there are such places now. Okay. The reason is, if you do the Torah the way it's supposed to do, with the same kavonis, the right kavonis, relationships, husband and wife for sure. We got married, we love each other and all that, but there's a purpose in it. The purpose we want is to raise a family, l'avodas Hashem. That's our purpose. There'll be nisyonos in life, but those nisyonos will be tal. But when a person does these things because of his own need, I want that, I want him, or whatever it is there, and because he does this for me or that for me, whatever the reasons are, somewhere along the line in a long relationship, a lot of those things disappear. And all of a sudden becomes motto. And that's the thing that the Torah is telling you. If you follow us, you're going to get tal. Not it's going to be motto. Now, just mentioned what I said about the Rav before, that a lot developed from the beginning, and he showed how things are. That the Rabbi does the same thing to us. The 2 days of Rosh Hashanah, it compares in a way Ishmael and Yitzchak. Ishmael reaches the Madrega Elyon of his, Ba'asher Hu Sham. That's the Madrega Elyon that he makes. It's ganz good. You make it. We passed. But it's Ba'asher Hu Sham. Every time we need, we just made it. And on Yitzchak, you have, on the other hand, the Akedah. He reaches the Madrega, the Akedah. Now, how did this happen? It developed. The Rabbeinu Shalom brings along the world the different things that we need. Even when things go bad, it's because we didn't have what we needed. I'll give you a mashal. When we got the Torah, we made an egel. We made an egel, made the Rabbeinu Shalom give us a Mishkan. That Mishkan now made a place that we can focus on, which we didn't have if we wouldn't have done the egel. So we needed it because we saw the people needed an egel to focus on. So therefore, he gave us a Mishkan. So even though we goofed, the Rebbeinu Shalom helps us out and gives us what we need. So originally, the Ikar Avodas of the Tzaddik Olam, of Noach and Avram, were Eselakim Hishalech. You do good, God takes care of you. Okay? It's a good message. Unfortunately, Noach couldn't sell it to anybody. Came along Avram, and he was able to sell it. He made Hanefesh Hashor Subechoron. Why? Because he created a new concept called Adnos. Taking the Rabbeinu Shalom in a place where there's slavery, you can understand it. We can't really understand it. But where there's slavery, that an Odain can take a human being who is his Eved, and shecht him like a cow. And nobody can say boo to him because it's his money. People, so we can't understand, but people who can understand it, then he says, look at the Rabbeinu Shalom. He is the Odain Ha'olam. He can do with us whatever he wants. So till now, he's been pretty good with us. Right? We grew up. As a kid, we had a good time in life. Probably every kid will tell you, I love the summers, and I love school, and I love this, and I love that. Whatever it is, they had a pretty good time. Now we got to go to Maisa. All of a sudden, there's a lot of tzos. He says, why is there troubles now? You say because God is bad. So then why was he good to you till now? So you're going to say God is good. So if God is good, so why is he bad to you? So maybe the chesaron lays in you. Maybe as long as you were doing what he wanted and did the right thing, or he was still in the teaching mode, like Paseachas Yadecha Masbi Alechol Chai Rotzin, and then Shem Hashem Esoyev is called Shoyim Yashmit. First, you feed everybody. You give them everything what they need. Then when they go bad anyway, then you give them punishment to try and straighten them out. But originally, he's good to everyone. So maybe find out where you went off the derech. What happened? Where did you go? And by that, you'll get him back on your side, and you'll be okay. And you see that this was Avram's concept, Madrege, if you want to call it. First, it was a Talmud of Noach. But the Rebbeinu Shalom says to him, Lech lecha me'atzor me'ladcha be'savicha ve'agad l'shmecha ve'yebrocha. Whatever it is, that's only going to happen if you go. If you don't go, it's not going to happen. So he's promising reward on the point of going. The difference was, like the Rambam says in the end of Yovel and Shemitah Yovel, that everybody can be like Shevet Levi, and if he dedicates his life to Avodas Hashem, God, he will always have what he needs. Okay? But that's because it always has what you need. What I need is to help me do mitzvahs, not to help me do averos. The people look at the world and they say, if money is good, I want a lot of it. If arayas is good, or wife is good, I want a lot of it. If vacations are good, I want a lot of it. I'm not using it for the purpose that it was created for. I'm giving it to you to be able to do mitzvahs, give tzedakah, help people out, work with people. That's what I gave you this thing for. I didn't give it for you to sit around wasting it. People don't realize that it's good. Good means that you have your needs. Baruch Hashem, I eat, I sleep, I have a nice house to live in, I have a nice friends, I have a good relationships. These are wonderful things. I don't need more than that. But the thing is, when I'm trying to, if I don't have I don't have like him, I don't have like that, all of a sudden I don't consider it bracha. So unfortunately, people go off the derech. They say, I didn't have it good. You told me I'm going to have good, and it's not good. It's not as good as I thought it would be. And the ones that do good, you can see this thing. What's the Arabs' concept of Olam Haba? Whatever they asked me in this world, they're going to give me in that world. So in other words, was it good to have these things? So then why don't you give it to me in this world? And if it's no good, so why are you giving it to me in the other world? But since they're dealing always with Gashmiistic subjects, the problem becomes Ba'asher Hu Sham. You're always on the borderline. Sometimes you're good, sometimes you're bad. And therefore, his highest madrega is Ba'asher Hu Sham. So Rabbi Nishon came along and said, we're going to lift the madrega of Klal Yisrael, but we're going to do it in a way that they're going to have to change. Because this way we're going to guarantee that we're all going to go that way. And I said, they made a thing, Halech lefonai v'yesam. Now there's no more reward necessarily for doing good. So then why would we do good if there's no more reward? So the Rebbe Shem says what you have to do now is change the whole lifestyle of the Yid, or anyone that's following Avraham Avinu, and start teaching the kids in yeshivas and time from time the little kids that there's a different purpose in life, a different value system that we have. It's not how many homers I can hit, and it's not how many girlfriends I have, and whatever it is. These are not important things. How many Blad Gemara I learned, how many things. There are things that we learn from there, and there's things that make us bigger, and whatever it is. And these are what we become the things that we measure success or not success on. That's where we became a bigger nation, and that's why we're different than everybody else. So Rabbi Shalom, in order to make sure that the children of Avraham are going to be like Avraham, he had to make this change in it. And we come to the Akedah. Okay. It's hard to know exactly what the Elahei Yitzchak is that we say in Shemoneh Esrei, but it actually is the Akedah, because the Rabbi Shalom calls it Elahei Yitzchak, even though the only time you find the Elahei really is on Avraham and on Yaakov. Avraham was the Salach Lefonai V'Esamim, and I'll make the bris, and I'll be Lelokim to you. That's what it says. And Yankif, it says over there about the Iyun living with the Gashmias. He says, I'll go Shafti B'Sholem Beisovi, and then I'll make this Evan Azois will be Beis Elokim, and I'll accept this for Elokim. That means that until then, there's a new concept of Lakus. Lakus means a relationship between God and man. And Yitzchak, it doesn't say exactly what it was, but when the Benshim comes to Yaakov Avinu, it says, I'm Elokei Avram, Elokei Yitzchak. So obviously there's an Elokei Yitzchak. So that I think is the Akedah. Now the Akedah you can learn is two ways. It can be a sacrifice, meaning Mesiras Nefesh, or you can learn the Akedah as Avas Hashem. It's Machlekes Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Eliezer, really, and the halach is like Rabbi Akiva. The question is, how much do you have to love HaKadosh Baruch Hu? So Rabbi Eliezer says, People that love nefesh more than money, and the people love money more than nefesh. So therefore, you're mechuyev to know whatever the maximum of that. Obviously, there's no such person in the world can love money more than nefesh, because if you don't have nefesh, the money doesn't help you any. So it doesn't make a difference. You need your nefesh before you have the money. So what I think what it means is it easier for me to live like a Jew or die like a Jew? There are many people in the world that can live like a Jew. In other words, I get up for davening, and I even learn Torah, and I give tzedakah, and I'm honest, and all this thing. But if a guy hold a gun to my head and tell me your religion or your life, a lot will fail. Hopefully, chazakis they won't, but we've seen in history that a lot have failed. And others, on the other hand, can die like a Jew. It doesn't bother me dying. I'll say Shema Yisrael before I die. How many soldiers have said it before they were killed, whether they were from or not from? Right? As long as they came from a Jewish home that knew such a thing. Right? Shema Yisrael became a very important fact at that moment. But to live like a Jew, I can't. I can't go to daven every day. I can't sit down and learn and get up and learn and make that a nikkur of my life. I can't do that. So that's what Rabbi Eliezer is telling you. Whichever one you have to dedicate as much as you can to Avodas Hashem. Rabbi Akiva comes along and he says, "Afilu hu noitel es nafshecha." Even if he takes your life, you're not giving anymore. He's taking. Can you still have Avas Hashem at that time? Yitzchak had it. In other words, Yitzchak is talking to Avram Avinu, and they're going and Vayechu Shneim Yachtov, right? They're going together, same kavanas. And then Yitzchak has Hore. Avram, Daddy, where's the Sel Oila? He says, the Ben Shem saw Sel Oila B'ni. The Ben Shem is going to show us you, right? Vayechu Shneim Yachtov. They still went together the same way. Because if that's what you want, Rabbeinu Shalom, you want my nefesh, my pleasure. That's the madrega we have to reach. So you'll say, how do we reach it? The truth is, we were told this twice in the Torah, once in the Torah, once in the Akedah, and before even in the lesser madrega. In the story we have with Hagar, before Bishmor was born. So Hagar is running away from Sorah. And the first Malach says to her, go back and to Sorah, go back and suffer under her hands. The second Malach says you're going to have a child, you're going to be the mother of a great nation. Third Malach says you're going to have a child, and I want you to call him Yishmael because God heard your tzar. And what did God tell me? Go back and suffer. Right? You heard my tzar, and you tell me go back and suffer, because in my tzar is going to lay my Yeshua. Many people in the things have to do that with their own lives, but in Hagar's lives, it was simple. You have to go back to Sorah. If you're going to be the mother of a great nation, you have to learn how to become the mother of a great nation. You can't just have children and now say, I'm a mother of a great nation. That doesn't make it. There's teachings, there are ideas. You have to be able to give over something to become a mother of a great nation. And you're only going to get that if you go back to Sorah. So you must suffer to reach your madrega that you have to reach. And everyone has that. And it's for her benefit, because now her children will be who they are. Our big troublemakers. But that's who they are. The Akedah is the second time. We have to reach a point where we can able to love our Father, which is Rabbeinu